Greetings trainers, KuroBlitz here and welcome to another video. Today is Ash Wednesday, so I think it would be amazing to talk about the Pokemon Journeys anime once again. However, I want to talk about the main problem that the Journeys anime has, or at least my personal perspective of what it is. This is a totally unscripted rant about the Journeys. I have my notes on Notepad, so without further ado, let's get started. So here's the thing. The Pokemon Journeys anime, it doesn't feel like a previous anime that we had, and that's because the entirety of the Pokemon series, they always had this trifecta of adventure, friendship, and world building. Whatever show, whatever region, we always had this holy trifecta. It was the holy premise of the show. Wherever you go, we always have adventure, friendship, and world building. It makes the world feel alive. Even when Ash is not the focus, the world doesn't stop, like how we had the specials and even the chronicles and whatever more. But regardless, even though the series is the same, every saga of Pokemon has a distinctive element that makes that saga feel more iconic and unique than every other saga of the show. For example, in the original series, we were very focused on comedy. It was the first series, so we had to take some notes from that. It was the settlement series. In AG, we had the pacing and also the environmental, because they were going land and sea, but the pacing with the League and then the Battle Frontier, it was always there, and they always worked with Ash and with May, gyms and contests, so it worked for 2 tries in a row, not to forget about that. With Diamond and Pearl, we always had the storytelling and the narrative with rivalries and whatever more. With Best Wishes, we got a colorful cast of characters, and that was the great prime of Best Wishes. With X and Y, we always focused on very shonen elements with action and battles, and with Sun and Moon, the setting of Alola, focusing about the values of family and Manalo and all of that sharing is caring stuff. But here's the thing. The comedy, the pacing, the narrative, the characters, the action, the family, every single saga of Pokemon has this distinctive element. If I was to ask of you to describe Journeys in one word, what word would you describe Journeys as? Inconsistent? Unstructured? Not exactly, it doesn't meet the expectations, and I think that's the thing about Journeys. The main problem with the Pokemon Journeys anime is that it lacks identity. Even the setting is not fully utilized right. Journeys is too good for it, it's too great for its own good, you know? They have tremendous amounts of potential. Because when Pokemon Journeys was announced, they talked about the Professor Sakuragi, the lab in Vermilion, and the world tour aspect. So here's the thing. Being in Vermilion and not in Palette, it was already like this issue, but it's understandable because of the voice actors of Oak, Tracy, and Delia. They could not commit full time, because if it was in Pallet Town, they spend more time in Vermilion because of Lugia. But that's the thing. Journeys is a show focused around the premise of traveling the world, but we are always in Vermilion. It's not even Kanto, it's just Vermilion, because Vermilion, it's Yokohama, it's on south of Tokyo, so they can go there and see, you know, the city, and therefore design it better. That's why it's not in Galar most of the time. But yeah, like, we don't go to Kanto most of the time. Like, we only got to Rock, we are in episode 55, the Ponyta episode as I'm recording this. We only got to Rock Tunnel in episode 51. We never went to the Seafoam Islands because back in the day that was a mistranslation, and that's the thing, the show was promoted as a world tour. We never had the world championships. Galar was there, but the premise of the world championships it was not. So when you think about it, Ash is the protagonist, he's the main character. But when the main goal of your main character feels like a subplot for the show, that's a problem. Honestly, until very recently, I always believed that the show should have been hubbed in Motostoke instead of Vermilion, because therefore we can see more of Galar, it doesn't interfere with the plot in Winden and Hammerlock, Motostoke was the city where the starters were in the promotional trailers. It doesn't affect the Magnolia Labs in Wedgehurst. We could see, for example, you know how we have the endorsements. Scott could endorse Ash because of the Battle Frontier being his sponsor. The Galar gym leaders could be as strong as Elite Four members as they are in the games, just like the Frontier Brains, because Raihan is at the strength of a champion. So with Ash being the newest champion, and the youngest for that matter, being a champion light in many ways, he could have these self-imposed rules of using only Pokemon from the types of the gym leaders that he faces, to basically be like, you know, checkpoints for the World Championship. And with Kabu and Motostoke, we have Owen and we have the World Tour aspect. It could have worked if the show was in Motostoke instead of Vermilion, but it's not in a harbor, so the Lugia aspect would not be a thing. Maybe we could also have, like, for example, Go would access the wild area and he could only capture one Pokemon a day to not interfere with the local fauna that much. But here's the thing, the issue is not that the show is in Kanto, it's mostly because they over-rely on Vermilion and they are always region hopping, therefore Journeys is lacking identity. In Alola we had it hub in Melee, but the other islands they were visited, but they didn't lack their identity. They were always iconic, but the show stood always the same. There was no narrative issues with the show. Because if you think about it, Ash and Go, they went to Galar, they did the Darkest Day stuff, it feels like they were doing a speed run for the Sword and Shield games, and they returned home. Because we don't see gym leaders, we don't see DLCs even now, we don't even see rivals. If Sinnoh gets a game, they have to incorporate the remakes into the story, and it will feel forced. Not to mention that, speaking of Sinnoh, episode 8, the Snowpoint Ice Drift race, that's the thing, they have this, the show of Journeys feels very over-reliant on merchandise and our nostalgia as well, because we got Pimplet and Krogang, oh, will it be Donenbrog from DP? No, it's just a Pokemon. The Surge episode was done right, because it was only mentioned, and it was the first battle that Ash had in the PWC against Viscus. Now that's how you write a story, that's how you write a character mention, not having just Chuck being in Cyanwood just because, well, Obese in Cyanwood, let's have Chuck there just because, you know, continuity, yada yada. And Ash not going to Azalea because of the Go episode with Tokyo, it's because they don't want to bring back Kurt and the GS Ball. They didn't have Ash tag along just because they don't want to focus on a dropped plot. And that's the thing, Tokyo, Hoji, all of these characters of the day, like, you know, the one-offs, it really feels like, will they return, will they not? We have to worry, we have to worry because Journeys is lacking identity. Here's the thing, like, I would not be surprised if the World Championship would be, we would have 2 World Championships just in Gen 8 alone, like Ash reaches the top, over-relies on Gigantamax Pikachu or even Lucario and loses to Leon, becomes the second best, and therefore he lures more powerful trainers to take him down on a second try. But here's the thing, and then we have Team Rocket. We have Team Rocket. Yo, back in the day, Team Rocket was always, you know, basically being shoehorned in every episode, and they are doing the exact same thing with the Gacha machine. And people are saying, oh, this is Ash's final adventure, and I'm thinking, do you want for this show to be Ash's final adventure, and not just Ash's? It's basically Team Rocket as a whole, not even just Jesse James and Meowth and Wobbuffet, it's Team Rocket as a whole. Do you really want for Ash to finalize his adventure like this? Do you want for Team Rocket to go off the show with the gacha? Ash finally becoming a champion after 20 plus years of struggle. Do you really want for this to happen? It feels disrespectful. If this is his last hurrah, I don't want for it to happen because it feels disrespectful. Heck, do you want to talk about more disrespectful stuff? the laws of the anime are always interchanging depending on who the character is. For example, if it's Ash focused, we have the laws of battle from the mainline games. If it's Go focused, we have the Pokemon Go capturing from... It's basically like the entirety of Pokemon World is like this big safari zone for Go, because that's what it is. And we are in Kanto, mostly Vermilion, because of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Because Go, it's a walking commercial for Pokemon Go, and Ash and Koharu are the mascots for Pikachu and Eevee. Heck, I'm not even surprised if one day, because of Let's Go Johto or whatever more, Koharu gets a Cleffa and it becomes a Clefairy for Pokemon Pink, and basically go into a similar story arc that Brock had with Happiny and going with the Chansey, you know, finalizing the evolution to change the goal. Because Koharu, I'm not mad that Koharu doesn't have a goal, because the thing about the character of Koharu is that it's about soul searching, it's about adventure. She will only get a goal in the end of the show, and that's okay, because in this mishmash of elements that Journeys has, therefore lacking identity, the one thing that always stays consistent is the characterization of Koharu and Go. But even there, it's not always, you know, consistent in the own show, because in season 1 we see very little of Koharu. When we see Koharu, it's because of Yamper, and now we have Eevee basically shifting Yamper to the side, and they don't even want to decide if Yamper is her Pokemon or not. They don't want to explain if Yamper was once Sonia Magnolia's or not. So Journeys is always trying to please everyone at the same time by overselling a show that it's too great for its own good, and because they want to try to please everyone, they are pleasing no one. And it's not even about the formula of the narrative being episodic instead of linear. Shows can work with those mixed elements. Disney had Kim Possible, American Dragon, even Gravity Falls. They were linear narratives with episodic episodes, but it worked. Pokemon, with this whole thing of everyone returns, World Tour, World Championship, Lucario, Pokemon nowadays, Pokemon Journeys nonetheless, the Pokemon Journeys anime, it feels like a glorified canon fanfiction. And we have predecessors for that. In X and Y with Ash Greninja, we got the Super Saiyan Naruto. In Sun and Moon, we got the Ultra Beast Naganadel and the mythical Melmetal, so Ash getting UBs, legendaries and mythicals. Not to mention the whole bond with Solgaleo that was a legendary. But at least those felt natural. Journeys doesn't. I even remember back in the day, because Solgaleo, it's basically like this sun cat. I thought that the Eevee, because of the hair that Eevee had, that Eevee was the reincarnation of Stoutland, and because of Solgaleo, Ash would get an Espeon, you know, basically the dog would reincarnate as a cat to befriend Torracat and then Incineroar. That's what I wanted back in the day for DP, you know, the Ranger Riolu. I wanted for Ranger Riolu to be the reincarnation of Sir Aaron's Lucario, because Pokemon, it feels like a very mixed blend of science and magic, and this show, it's basically discarding everything that all previous sagas established. It doesn't feel natural. Again, Journeys lacks identity. And continuing on with Riolu, let's talk about the infamous episode 25, the first return to Kalos in Journeys, and the return of Korrina. So here's the thing. Korrina had 5 episodes to train Mega Lucario. She had 1 extra episode more than the entirety of the Darkest Day. That is a big problem. Because think about this. Pikachu lost to Lucario, Lucario mastered Mega Evolution, but just because of that, Pikachu never stopped training. Again, the world doesn't stop because Ash does, and Ash doesn't stop just because the others continue on. So, when Pikachu defeated Mega Lucario after losing to regular Lucario, it was more of a pinch. It was like a 50-50 chance. Pikachu got, I'm not saying lucky, but it was a strategical. Maybe he had 1 HP or something. So, when you think about it, Korrina always being in the gym and Ash always traveling and being in Lola and doing journey stuff, I would place Pikachu and Mega Lucario on the same level of power. And then we have Dragonite. Dragonite was tired from Minchao and defeated Mega Lucario. Are you saying that Ash's Dragonite in just one battle it's stronger than Pikachu? No. That's why Team Rocket with the Gacha being shoehorned in Dragonite Island feels forced. To me personally, if I was to rewrite that thing, Ash would have caught the Dragonair, he would train Dragonair with the aura of weather to manipulate weather, you know, and Ash would lose the battle against Korrina, Korrina would go to the super class, but Ash's Dragonair would have become a Dragonite. Because I have this personal philosophy that if Ash is to lose a battle, he has to gain something from that. So he loses the battle, he doesn't go to the super class, but he's happy that Korrina goes, and he's happy that Korrina pulled the trump card because his Pokemon evolved. So everyone gains something from there. But the power scaling got all screwed over, because now every time Dragonite loses a battle, it discredits Ash and Pikachu, and also Korrina and her Mega Lucario. And that's the thing about Journeys. What they did with Korrina was the most disrespectful thing that I saw, just because they wanted to shoehorn Ash with the Lucario in the end of Season 1. I have to worry for my favorite characters to return. Iris and Gary, I'm worried for Iris and Gary to return. I'm worried for everyone to return. And that's the thing about the character of Lucario, because people always wanted Ash to have a Lucario from 12 to 15 years. Personally, I thought that Ash should train his aura more to be worthy of having a Riolu in the first place. Instead of training the Pokemon, Ash should train himself. Because when I see Ash's Lucario, it's the Lucario with the least amount of personality. Ash's Lucario, it's like the Jiren of the Pokemon show, because he's all power and no substance. He doesn't have a character. Ash's team, he gets strong Pokemon like Dracovish, Gengar, Galarian, Farfetch, etc. But they are just there. They don't do anything. They are just there to make Pikachu and Lucario stronger. Even Pikachu got jealous. Pikachu's characteristic, it was forced, but very in character for him to be jealous, because Ryo is basically stealing the show. And people are saying, oh, he's being the Greninja. Greninja in X, Y, and Z, we got elements for every single of Ash's Pokemon. Greninja was the main focus, but everyone had a chance to shine. And with Journeys, it's just Lucario and Pikachu. We don't even see Ash utilizing his full Pokemon at full time. When you think about it, when I said before that Pokemon Journeys feels like a glorified canon fanfiction, it really is. Pokemon Journeys feels like the Dragon Ball Super of the series. Because when you think about it, Dragon Ball Super always had these plots, but they never organically connected. It's like if Pokemon Journeys, the episodes were puzzle pieces, you give the puzzle to a 5-year-old, and instead of fitting the puzzle pieces where they belong, they basically cut the pieces with a kid's scissor, or they put it in their mouth and they are all gushy and soaky, and they place the pieces together and you think, yeah, that fits, but does it belong though? And therefore I basically rant and describe how the writers in OLM and are basically 5-year-olds. Journeys lacks identity. It's very unstructured, it's very inconsistent, and I don't care if Team Kato is just animating, because animators can have an influence in the writing as well. Heck, Iwane wanted to do the Adventures manga after the end of DP, and nowadays the Adventures manga has potential to have 9 years of animation non-stop. We could animate the manga and we will be Gucci until the end of 2030. And that's the thing, even Journeys is unstructured and inconsistent within its own show. Think about it. Go couldn't capture a Marshtomp stuck in the ground, but he could capture a Suicune stuck in a net. A potion could cure Suicune with 20 HP. Ponyta's heal pools could not heal half of the HP of Galarian Rapidash. The poachers of the Suicune episode, they are stronger than the grunts of Macrocosmos. The poachers, the random Johto poachers, are stronger than Rose. That alone is a big issue for power scaling purposes. Go is going to capture Grookey after he caught Eternatus. You see the problem here? The show is very inconsistent and unstructured. I don't know if it's because of the episodic formula instead of the linear one. I don't know if it's because of the batches with Netflix or whatever. There is a problem with journeys, and I think I've pinpointed it down with the whole thing of being lacking their own identity. They try to do everything and they promise the world and they deliver nothing. And when you think about it, Ash was always the brawn of the show. Go is being the brain of the show. Sometimes the brain can be shared, like with Brock and Max in AG, and Koharu it's the heart of the show, and sometimes the heart can be shared, like with Serena and Bonnie in X and Y. But Ash was always had a heart, even if he wasn't the heart of the show in this trifecta. And Koharu, being the heart of the show, physically by the tales of Yamper and Eevee, metaphorically because of Ponyta, that she should have caught, mind you, because I don't like this one-offs. It's like May with Swablu and I'm the AG stan, mind you. So here's the thing, a show without a heart, it's no show at all. And I don't watch Journeys for Ash, sadly. I watch it for Go and Koharu. Because Ash being sidelined just for their development, Ash feels like the DP Brock. He's a mentor, but not the mentor that we wanted, you know? Because the thing about Ash is that Ash is a positive, flat character arc. Even though the writers change, even though the sagas within the series change, the character of Ash, the core, the heart of Ash Ketchum, it never changes. Like the character of Ash being a positive, flat character arc, it means that he doesn't change, but those around him, they always change for the better. Ash is basically this beacon of light, emphasized by Pikachu's electricity, not to mention the Solgaleo, you know, Nebby being the literal walking sun, and Ho-Ho being the sunshine and rainbows and all of that. Ash is the sun that makes everyone around him shine brighter. That's why every time he's depressed, it either rains, like in the openings, hailstorms, the Lost with Wulfric, or sandstorms, the depression after B, as we see with the Flygon episode. So if it's not sunlight, if there is no beacon of hope, there is no heart, and Ash is always in this, like he's lurking in the shadows, therefore he's not shining and no one else is shining. Like, again, he's getting sidelined for the others instead of helping out, like how we did with other characters, you know, even if little, even if big, but now he doesn't, like, he helped Go, but now Go is helping Koharu more because they are childhood friends, and that's why I watch the show. It's for Go and Koharu, it's not for Ash. Because if you think about it, being the positive flat character arc, it works for shows like Dragon Ball when you have Goku, and then we have the negative flat character arc that it's Frieza, because Frieza cannot influence Goku to be bad, and Goku cannot influence Frieza to be good. And that's why I think that Journey is like the Dragon Ball Super of the show, when they try to fan service everyone and it doesn't work. Ash could never make Giovanni be good, and Giovanni could never make Ash be bad. Because Giovanni he always stays the same, but he changes everyone around him for the worst. Like with Mewtwo and even Jesse James and Meow for that matter, when they got more involved with Team Rocket, when they were from grunts into officers, they were more aggressive, they were more dark, that's why they changed the uniforms, because they were more loyal to Giovanni. We can even see this with the Pokemon that they represent. Ash has a Pikachu, a not fully evolved mouse, while Giovanni has a Persian, a fully evolved cat, so it's always a game of cat and rat. Not to mention that Pikachu's only weakness, it's ground type, that's the mastery that Giovanni has, and the only weakness of Persian is the fighting type, that it's always focused on Ash's fighting spirit and aura, so it works. And now we are on this point of no return, where we basically, you know, we have to depend on Ash and fan service and nostalgia to make the show run. I mean, look at the character of Go. Cinderace, it's basically his Charizard. If he captures Grookey and Sobble will be Bulbasaur and Squirtle, you know, and being in Kanto just emphasizes that more. And then we have all of these one-off characters, you know, the character of the days, and that's why I'm very upset at Chloe. Why the hell did I say Chloe? I don't like to say Chloe. Koharu, I'm sorry. Koharu not capturing Ponyta. It feels like a step in the back, because if not now, then when, you know? And they have, you know, the checklist, like, you know, go to Galar, introduce this character, check, check, check. It feels like I'm watching a show not for the sake of enjoyment, but yes, for obligation. And it feels like the writers are doing the same thing, because the world of Pokemon, they travel around the world of Pokemon. That's the premise of Pokemon Journeys. But the world being more connected because of technology and airplanes and boats, like, the world is connected, but it doesn't feel as big and as immersive as it was before. The show feels very unorganic, it feels forced. Even though, with the whole unorthodox and controversial, the things that always stay consistent, it's Go and Koharu. Sadly, Journeys, it's not an Ash show anymore. Ash overstayed his welcome for several times and years. That's why in the thumbnail of this video, he's sidelined. This is not an Ash show. And I would be fine with that if he was treated right, like how DP Brock was. I watched the show for Go and Koharu, because also in some capacity, I'll be biased here, I ship Go and Koharu, hashtag Vermilion shipping, because they are Satosere, they are a more shipping done right, you know? They were childhood friends who always stood together, and let's not forget the Anchor Chief. Let's not forget the goddamn Anchor Chief. Maybe they met because of Yamper, you know? Best dog, you know, the Thunderbutt with the heart, shipping fuel right there. And that's the thing, Journeys is lacking identity, it's unstructured, it's inconsistent, and especially with Ash. Again, the PWC, it's the main goal of the main character, but it's a subplot for the show, so either write Ash right or don't write him at all. He's a champion, but it's more a philosophical matter of tutoring and teaching everyone, because he lacks a roster, he lacks Pokemon. The show is over-reliant on merch, and the face of the show being Ash and Pikachu. And that's the thing, like, Year 2 of Journeys, 2021, it's either a make it or break it deal for Journeys. Again, it's a point of no return, because for Go and Koharu to always develop, they have to downgrade Ash, they have to dumb him down. He's just the linchpin for people to watch the show. And that's the thing, like, even with the writing teams being different, the Ash stays the same. I will give you a great example. In X and Y, Ash had character growth, because he matured as a trainer. In Sun and Moon, he had character development because he matured as a person. He had the training baggage and expertise from X and Y, and because they were to focus on trying to be something that it was not, a shonen, it lacked elements of personality, so they had that with Sun and Moon, you know, these two controversial shows always smashing each other. They made the same Ash, and Journeys has the best Ash ever. It's the amalgamation, it's the accumulation of years of struggle that he had, but it's not shown, and that's the thing. Ash, it's about battle. Go is about capture. Koharu, it's about bonds with Pokemon. It's the trio of traveling, and that's the thing. Koharu shows little, but every time she shows up, she matters. Go captures Pokemon, even if unorthodox for the goal for Mew, but we always see him capturing Pokemon. Ash battles, but we don't see it. How can we care for a character? How can we get invested and champion Ash if we don't see him battle? And that's the one thing that he's promoted for. How can we relate? Even the rank fluctuation, he's ranking high because people maybe in the super class, they are ranking low because of misperformance. But that's the thing. How can we relate? How can we care for Ash if we don't see him in action, you know? Like, that's the thing, Pokemon is... that's the thing, you know? Journeys was meant to be a closure. Journeys was meant to be the greatest show ever. Journeys was meant to be the very best. like no one ever was. And it's not. It's disrespectful for the world and the characters within this world of the Pokemon anime. Journeys lacks identity. Thank you everyone. Farewell. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe and notification the bell down below. See you later trainers, and don't forget to capture them all.